You've probably heard me talking about this self-sufficient living skills bundle that's been going on. And I have been spending the last week flipping through so many of the incredible resources within this bundle. Now, I will say there's a lot. There's over 118 different ebooks and courses and lessons sharing incredible wisdom and knowledge with you so you can live off the land and you don't have to rely on this corrupt and broken system for everything for your family. Anyways, I wanted to share some of my favorite things. One, first off, is off-grid homeopathy. This course is loaded with so much incredible knowledge, talking about homeopathy for first aid, for colds and flu, how to make your own homeopathic remedies. Like, as an herbalist who loves to teach that stuff, that's pretty exciting to hear it in the homeopathy realm. There's also some incredible fermentation guides, so many other amazing herbal recipes and food recipes, and how to make your own sourdough bread, how to do your own organic gardening and canning of all of your foods. Really, there is so much. And yes, I know. I've talked about it a ton, but this entire bundle is only $50 right now until Sunday, March 24th. I'm sharing my herbal first aid skills, which is a course that's $47 on its own. I'm sharing recipes that I used when I got my products into REI for herbal first aid kits and so much more. You'll have to check it out. I'm serious. Like, you can absolutely change your life with this bundle. So there is a link in the show notes for you, and I hope you check it out. I hope you take advantage. Don't worry, you don't have to go through everything right away. You can access everything for up to a year. Once you're in the course or have the download, it's yours for life. It is a steal of a deal. Okay, self-sufficient living skills bundle in the links for you. Hello and welcome to the Herbalist Path, a podcast where you'll discover how to make your own herbal remedies at home so that you can take better care of yourself, better care of your family, and better care of our planet. I'm Mel. I'm a clinical herbalist, environmental educator, and mountain living mama with this crazy passion for teaching more mamas and their little loves how to use plants as medicine in a safe, effective, and tasty way so that there can be an herbalist in every home. Again, it's an absolute honor to have you on the journey down the herbalist path with me so that together we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. Hello to you. And thank you for being here, tuning in to another episode on the Herbalist Path. Today's episode, I was a bit indecisive about it, so bear with me because the title I don't have yet because I can't figure out how many different ways I want to talk about chamomile and how you can use it, because there are so many different ways. So I started this like, 5 ways you can use chamomile and 7 and 10, and who knows what I will end up with at the end of this episode. So if you're counting and I've got it wrong in the title, reach out and let me know. I won't be hurt at all. But anyways, I do want to talk about chamomile, and it's because it's such an amazing, versatile herb. I know I bring it up in so many of my episodes. I bring it up in lessons all the time inside of Apothecary Mama. We talk about it inside of Medicine Making Mama. There's just so many great ways to use it. And of course, most people think of chamomile and they're like, oh yeah, that's the sleepy time herb, right? Which, yes, it is a fantastic nervine herb, meaning that it does act on the nervous system. And it is a bit of a sedating nervine for many. Some of us, like me, might need a little more oomph and power from an herb than chamomile can give me, but it's nice and gentle for our kids and our littles to just help them be calm and be relaxed. It's also in that department really fantastic for those that are dealing with anxiety or stress relief, things along those lines, it can really, really be a powerful friend. In fact, one of the things I noticed when I ran my herbal product line, I made this tea called Unfrazzle Your Dazzle. And to this day, I still have people reaching out to me asking me for this blend. It was quite a few different herbs, but one of them in there was chamomile. And every time I would be at like a farmer's market or an event or in the store doing a demo, I would open up the tin of tea and I would let the customer smell it. Of course, this is pre-COVID. And they would smell the tea, and it's a pretty dominant smell of chamomile. And after they would smell it, every time I could just watch their shoulders just kind of drop down. They'd take a nice sigh of relief and just kind of a little, And I'm like, wow, that is the power of this tea, of the herbs in this blend, of just the smell, the aromatherapy of chamomile and its calming effects. It's truly beautiful to watch. And it's no wonder that that's like chamomile's claim to fame in the world of herbalism. But I also want to bring to your attention how many other ways this plant can be used, because I am a firm believer that it's better for you to have 5 or 6 plants that you know how to use 10, 20, 30, 40 different ways than to know 40 to 100 to 200 to 300 different plants and how to use them each 1 or 2 ways. You are so much more empowered and have so much more of an ability to use plant medicine in a really wise and honestly a more financially wise way when you do it that way. So, okay, let's chat about this beautiful plant, chamomile, a bit more, and let's go beyond the nervous system, which again, it's top notch for. Another reason I love chamomile is because it's fantastic for digestive health. Like, it's one of the number one go-to herbs for me for all things digestive health. Just correlated with anxiety and such. My daughter, if she gets like into an anxiety attack, I could just tell her I'm going to use some chamomile, and it works every time. But also, I kind of said this in reverse, but when she gets those anxiety attacks, she immediately tells me she has a tummy ache. And I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense because of the gut-brain connection and all the neurotransmitters going back and forth, and makes perfect sense. And so I will give her chamomile, or even tell her she's getting chamomile. She has built that kind of a relationship with this particular herb that she can know that it's around for her. And she's like, okay, I'm safe. I'm okay. And I think that's so beautiful. Like, I hope for you that you and your kids develop that kind of relationship with a plant or two throughout your life, that you can just be like, oh, that plant is in my presence. Everything's going to be okay. It's pretty neat. So anyway, I think she developed that because when, speaking of that tea, the Unfrazzle Your Dazzle I used to make, I would sip on that tea often. And since she was like a little toddler, she'd come over to my tea and she would pick the chamomile flowers out of it and just munch on them and eat them. And ever since then, she's got this great chamomile love. So back to the digestive support. So it will help alleviate stomach cramping. It's what's called a carminative herb also. So it does this great job of easing gassiness and bloating, which is also going to be incredibly helpful if you have a baby who is colicky, because that is gas happening in their little baby intestines, right? So it's going to help alleviate that gassiness and simultaneously calm their nerves. Can you imagine how stressful it is to be a little baby and you don't have the control to like do anything about it other than scream that you are in so much pain? That's stressful. So the chamomile is going to come on board and it's going to help ease the tummy ache and the colickiness, but also ease and calm their nerves, which is like, thank you. And it's going to help calm your nerves as a parent too, because goodness gracious, if you have ever experienced a colicky baby, fortunately my daughter was not, but if you have, it's miserable. It's painful to watch a baby cry in that much pain. emotionally painful for the parent and for the baby. So, yes, it's great for colic relief and gassiness and bloating and tummy upset. It's also anti-inflammatory, specific for the digestive tract. So when you've got heat and inflammation going on in the digestive tract, chamomile can be a very, very fantastic friend for you. Along those lines as well, it is loaded with bitters. So those bitters are going to trigger and stimulate the liver to release the bile and other digestive secretions and enzymes and all of those things so that you have a better overall process of digestion. The whole digestive system functions a lot better. It's also a spasmolytic, so it helps reduce smooth muscle spasming, which is what's happening if you're having stomach cramps and things along those lines. That smooth muscle tissue cramping up, and the chamomile is very, very specific for that exact situation. So hands down, one of my absolute favorites when it comes to tummy upset. It's also astringent. So it helps to ease diarrhea and soak up all of the excess moisture and mucus happening in the digestive tract during a bout of diarrhea, while it's simultaneously fighting whatever's causing the inflammation, making the diarrhea happen, and it's calming the nerves. So Can you catch my drift? I really, really like chamomile for nervous system and digestive system health for so many different reasons. And so those are some of the reasons I talk about a lot. If you've ever listened to my podcast episodes before, if you haven't, I do dive deeper into digestive health and nervous system health. So you could for sure go back on some of those episodes. And then it also happens to be pretty darn nice if somebody is dealing with a fever. It is diaphoretic, so drinking a nice warm chamomile tea can help fight off colds and infections and promote the body to release heat through your skin, through your pores, and releasing heat from the body by sweating is what a diaphoretic herb does. So it can be really helpful there. And again, if you have kids that are sick, this chamomile is going to be super helpful with the double whammy with the fever. And sometimes kids don't want to rest when they're sick because they're young kids and they're hyperspazo, right? But the chamomile is going to help them stay nice and calm. So it's got all these double, triple, quadruple play games that it can do inside of the body for you. And that's why it's one of the herbs I really, really recommend that you get to know as well as possible and grow in your garden. Yeah, for sure, if you aren't already. And if you're wondering about other herbs to grow in the garden, I do have a free download. I'll link to it in the show notes for you and make sure you can get that. It's all about the 5 most essential herbs every mama must know and grow and how you can use them and how to grow them. So it's a pretty cool little helping guide for you to get you on your way to growing and making your own medicine. So I also used chamomile with great success for my daughter when she was about 2 weeks old, maybe. She had a bout of conjunctivitis. So her eye was all pink and crusty and it was a bummer. And so I made a little chamomile tea. I also used a little bit of golden seal and fennel in there. The fennel for the cooling properties, the golden seal because it had antimicrobial properties. So it would fight off any bacterial or viral infections. You could use a little bit of echinacea in this case as well for the same particular reason. But basically what you do is make a very, very small amount of tea because you are not going to want to reuse this tea or the tea bag because of the infection. We don't want to keep infection being put right back into the eye as we've already drawn it out. But you make the tea and you can use like a washcloth. You can use a tea bag if that's how you made your tea. Just try not to get any of the chemically doused tea bags. Use a nice natural one if you can, or a muslin cloth, or just a baby washcloth with the tea kind of wrapped inside of it or twisted up inside of it would be work really well.
And you make that small bit of tea, like no more than 4 ounces, and you just lay it on the eye as a compress and let it sit there. Gently wash over the eye and do that multiple times a day. It got rid of in my daughter's conjunctivitis really, really quickly and really, really well. So it is really important, though, when you are using this for eye relief and things along those lines, that you are absolutely super duper clean and sterile with it, because you don't want to get things into the eye and cause even more irritation or potentially a scratch or something along those lines. So please be careful.
Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. Medicinal mushrooms are all the rage these days, if you didn't know already. And with great reason, because they are powerful medicine that can improve your health and your life in so many different ways when they're well made. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of stuff on the market that isn't going to be so effective. And that's why you need to find a brand that you can actually trust. For me, that brand is Whole Sun Wellness, and this is the creation of a brilliant woman and fellow mama, Jamie Bonfiglio. She's an international mushroom educator that has been working in the medicinal mushroom industry for years. And this is when she saw firsthand how many other companies take shortcuts when it comes to their products. And Jamie wasn't having it. She set out to build her company the right way. Whole Sun Wellness is here to raise the industry standards so those crap mushrooms on the market aren't getting into your body or your family's body. Whole Sun Wellness is the first company to test and report nutritional facts for all of their extracts. They go beyond industry standards every step of the way, from sourcing to extraction and final testing. And as the owners of the largest medicinal mushroom farm in the United States, Whole Sun Wellness is taking control of their supply chain for the highest quality and absolute full transparency. They're even the first company to include pure mycelium extract in every single product. So when you're thinking of getting medicinal mushrooms for you and your family, Whole Sun Wellness is exactly the ones you want. Also, be sure to check out their new Mycolites. These are the world's first dissolvable electrolyte tablets. They're featuring functional mushroom extracts that'll give you more energy, more stamina, and recovery as well. And who couldn't use all of that? The other thing is, they are these adorable little mushroom-shaped tablets, and they come in like a little Altoids box, but way cooler than Altoids because they're Mycolites. Anyways, head to wholesunwellness.com to grab yourself some Mycolites and all of the other functional medicinal mushrooms that you and your family need. And of course, you can grab that link right here in the show notes now.
So speaking of irritation, again, Chamomile's anti-inflammatory properties work really, really well for skin irritation. So maybe you got a sunburn, which is a very hot condition. You could have a chamomile infused oil, or maybe make some chamomile ice cubes and rub them on your hot red skin. It will speed the healing process and ease the pain and the heat, cool you down quite a bit. It's also fantastic if you are dealing with more itchy and irritated skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis sores. It could be super duper helpful, again, as a tea or a wash. You could make an oil, but just make sure that you're not preventing any open wounds or weepiness from being able to breathe. So you don't want to like coat it with beeswax or anything along those lines. But it can be really helpful and ease the itchiness. So it can also help ease the itchiness if you have poison ivy, if you got poison oak, maybe it's bug bites that you're dealing with. A simple little wash, or make yourself an oil or a lotion and add some chamomile chamomile into it, and it's going to work wonders to just kind of make you almost forget about the itchiness, to cool that inflammation and just make you feel better a lot faster. Ooh, and speaking of that, diaper rash. Use it on diaper rash, that red inflammation going on there. If you've made a lotion or an oil or anything along those lines, it would work fantastically well. You could even do like a little spritz of a tea if you wanted, just to get that anti-inflammatory cooling kind of property happening in the really, really hot areas. And when I say really, really hot areas, I want you to think hot is red, right? So when you see red on the skin, that is a sign of something being very irritated, inflamed, and hot, right? So you might want to consider something like chamomile in that case. Another way that I love to use chamomile is for babies that are dealing with teething. You can take the chamomile tea and like put a cloth in the tea and then freeze that and let your baby chew on it. Something along those lines would be really, really helpful. They can just chew or gnaw on it, or whatever else you can use that is clean and safe to put in the baby's mouth for them to chew on could be super helpful. You could also make like little teething gels with it. You could do so many different things. Plus, it's also, again, going to help calm and soothe their nerves when they're stressed out from this pain of teeth cutting through their precious little baby gums. And speaking of the babies, if you have an infant that is dealing with cradle cap, you could use chamomile as a nice little astringent wash there. You could make like a little tea and use it as a rinse on their scalp. You could also infuse like a nice light oil, maybe like almond oil or jojoba oil or something like that with chamomile, and then use that as an oil on the scalp at night. And then in the next morning, you would do a gentle wash. Maybe you have like a calendula shampoo or something, a baby shampoo, a Castile soap, something like that. And you would wash that away and then just brush it with the nice, soft, gentle baby brush. That would be a fantastic thing to do, and follow it up with a little bit of chamomile tea as a rinse. But you wouldn't need to like rinse the tea off. Ideally, you're going to keep it on the scalp. It is going to ease any kind of inflammation, but really what's going on with that cradle cap is just excess sebum production. So your sebaceous glands are excreting too much of your skin's natural oils that are really designed to protect the skin from getting too dry. But that's, it can result in cradle cap, and cradle cap isn't necessarily harmful, but I know a lot of mamas that are just like, oh no, my baby's head is all crusty. So that can be unfun, and chamomile can be a great helper there too. Another thing that I've never tried, but I've heard many people talk about, is just using chamomile to rinse their hair with. Apparently it can help like lighten and brighten your hair and make it a little more blonde, which is pretty cool. It will also help to soothe an itchy scalp. Maybe if you are dealing with dandruff, consider using a little chamomile tea on your scalp as well. There's so much. I feel like I've just been like chamomile this whole episode, but I guess that's what's going to happen when I am talking about just one herb. I think I love this too, just because it is so easy to grow in your garden, and it is so gentle. It's so safe. It's a fantastic herb to introduce your kiddos to at a very, very young age. Let them help you gather your chamomile flowers in the garden when their baby toddler is just barely able to walk around. It's so cute and so fun. And then you can start making all kinds of crafts. You can do bath bombs. You can make little eye pillows for them to sleep with. You could make, if you're a soap maker, you could do like chamomile infused soaps, or whatever kinds of fun, useful crafts that you want to start doing with your kiddos is always a super great idea. especially with chamomile. This herb, it just makes me so happy. It really, really does so much. And I definitely lost count of how many things I just talked about. And this is nowhere near an exhaustive list. But that's why this plant is so cool. That's why it's so valuable for you to grow in your garden. Plus, it just smells delightful and it's just so vibrant and sunny looking. Like, how can you not smile when you are around a bunch of chamomile? I don't think it's possible personally. So I hope that you are in that same camp and chamomile makes you smile. Ooh, I wonder if we should put that on a shirt. Chamomile makes me smile. Except for the people that say chamomile will be like, well, then do I smile? No. Okay. That's my sign that this is the end of this episode. When my cheese comes out that strong. Anyways, I hope that you got some insight on some of the ways that you can use chamomile in your family. And if you did, I would love to hear from you. If there are other ways that I neglected to mention that you love to use chamomile for, I would also love to hear from you. I think it's so much fun to hear about different ways people use plants as medicine. That is why herbalism is so much fun, because it is forever and ever learning. So much to learn about, so many plants, so many different traditions. It's a blast. Anyways, again, I hope that you learned a thing or two in this episode. I hope that you are going to grow chamomile in your garden. If you want some insight on other herbs you should grow, definitely grab that free download from me. And if this is helpful for you at all, please do me a favor and share it with your friends so that we can make herbalism spread like wildflowers. Thanks so much for tuning into another episode and have a beautiful day. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of The Herbalist Path. Being on this journey with you is absolutely incredible. If you dig this episode, please leave me a review on your favorite podcast player and share it with your friends so that together we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. On another note, I must mention that while I know you're getting some good info here, it's important to remember that this podcast is purely for entertainment and educational purposes and is not intended to be a substitute for medical treatment. While the information in this podcast is absolutely relevant, herbs work differently for each person and each condition. That's why I recommend you work with a qualified practitioner, whether that be another herbalist, a naturopath, or your doctor. So thank you again. I am truly honored that you're tuning into these episodes and on the path with me to make sure that there's an herbalist in every home again. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends so that we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. It has been so much fun and so, joyous watching all of my medicinal plant friends popping up in my garden, from the elecampane to the comfrey and the arnica. I love seeing these friends pop up. And if you are still trying to decide what to grow in your medicinal herb garden, you've got to grab my guide. It's all about the most essential herbs that every mom should know and should grow. So I teach you how to grow them and the many different ways that you can use them. If you want to grab the guide, go ahead. It's free, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of delight and use out of it. And there's a link to it in the show notes. I'm wishing you tons of happy medicine planting.